So, I feel compelled to speak about the topic of fear, and we'll begin with a question. Let us ask, what is fear? And when you think about the answer to that question in your head, I wonder, there's probably a lot of different things that come into mind. Maybe it's personal experiences, maybe it's something that you've seen, something that you've heard of, and maybe it's a sound. For example, the sound of sirens, the sound of an alarm. You guys know I live in Israel. The sound of the alarm of a bomb dropping or a rocket coming is quite terrifying. It can instill fear into people. And so when I think about fear, the other day we were deciding to ride a bike. And let's go outside and let's ride a bike out on the streets here in Tel Aviv, Israel. But she doesn't know how to ride a bike yet. She still has the training wheels. And when we were riding our bike, we came to a curb, of course, right? So you got to go down the curb on the bike. Now, my daughter told me, "Daddy, I'm afraid. And I encouraged her. Of course, I encouraged her, and we ended up going down the bike, or down the curb on the bike, right? But the idea of the fear that she had was something that kind of stressed me out, because I don't want my daughter to have fear, and I certainly do not want you to have fear. And let me ask you this. Have you guys ever seen this movie, Snow White? Yes, you have. So you guys know that Snow White was forced to leave her house because her stepmother wanted to kill her. And so as she's fleeing her house for her life, she's afraid. And she's going through the forest. Do you remember that the trees turned alive? Everything seemed so big and dark and frightening and dreary. And I was speaking to my daughter after we came back home to the apartment, and I asked her, I said, "Hey, remember Snow White?" And we started talking about that scene and how the fear that she experienced as she was going down the curb is very similar to Snow White's experience, where something seemed really big and scary in that curb that my daughter went down. I told her, "Look, it's only about 5 inches high, but it felt like it was 50 feet high." And that's the main idea of how fear works 9 out of 10 times, right? Have you ever noticed that a lot of times your mind is blowing fear out of proportion and taking that little 5-inch curb and turning it into a 50-foot mountain? Have you ever noticed that fear can be your enemy and it could possibly be your friend? What I've found myself experiencing in my relationship with fear is a desire to confront it very quickly, very often. And I think this is a good thing. I think it's a good thing, and I want you guys to do that. So if you experience any fears, anything that you think may be a 50-foot mountain, it's not a 50-foot mountain. It might just be a 5-inch curb. And we all can relate to the Snow White story, to the story about my daughter riding the bike. So remember that. Fear is just a blown out situation. And make sure that you confront it. Make sure you recognize it for what it is. Even if you choose not to confront it, at least recognize it for what it is, which is a simple, small, easy 5-inch curb that you've expanded and blown out with overthinking. And you understand. You get the point. Get out there and get it. Take care.